Hey guys, it's Josiah here, back again with another video. Today I'm going to be discussing the 5 habits that I use to scale my agency to 0 to 50K twice. Okay? And these are not just some makeshift habits like wake up on time, go to sleep, or bloody, I don't even know what you're doing, praying to the internet gods, do your 5 hours of meditating, etc. It's none of that BS. Okay? These are habits that literally are used, and every single time I've used them, it's made my business better, it's made me more money, and also saved me a lot of time. Okay, so this video is in hopes that you take these 5 habits and scale it up to your agency so you can scale to the moon. Okay, so now if you know, I am, I scale my agency from 0 to 50K per month using the exact same thing. And yeah, let's get into the video. So the first thing I'll say is doing weekly system checks. Okay, so what you want to do is run weekly system checks every single week to make sure everything is working on the highest standard. For me, always make sure every Monday, email campaigns, some are doing on Saturdays or Sundays, email campaigns are working, deliverability is there, the calendar is working, the website is working, social media, team reports are all in. And the reason why you want to do it, it's almost like how restaurants do a stock check before opening the doors, right? The same thing you want to do to your business. Now, this could actually help you prevent a lot of bottlenecks because some people just don't do these checks and they just assume everything is working. For example, I had this time where the calendar, there wasn't that many spaces on the calendar for people to book meetings with us. And I didn't know until like halfway through the week, right? Because some guy just came to me and was like, hey, Josiah, like Saturday isn't open, even though we take calls on Saturdays. And then I was like, why is Saturday not open? And then they were like, oh, it's just not open. So that meant that we could have got an extra 3-4 bookings. That would have been an extra 1 or 2 clients from the closing rate just because I just didn't do that check. So many times with deliverability, like a lot of people, they complain about deliverability problems, but what's your deliverability habits like? Okay, how constantly are you checking? How constantly do you make sure you're going into the inbox and not to the spam? Because if you do this on a weekly basis, not only are you going to see trends, you're also going to be spotting them before they occur. So you can then put your emails on pause, let it warm up, and actually keep the train running and start generating appointments. Okay. Another thing you get is a sense of control over your business. Okay. A lot of people don't have control of their business because they don't really realize what systems they're running. So they don't have checks. They don't know if everything's working, and it just feels like chaos. So for example, if a problem comes out of the blue from your campaign, a client campaign, whatever, to you, it feels like chaos. But if you actually just checked it at the start of the week, you wouldn't feel like chaos because you would have prevented this from occurring. So doing a weekly system checks on everything that's going on in your business right now will save you a shit ton of time and a shit ton of stress, headache, and it'll actually make you feel like you're running a business, not just some chaotic thing that you're just doing on the side, right? Another thing is it will help you spend less time on the business as you know all the systems work fine. Okay, a lot of people don't spend that time on the business, or for example, they'll see something and they'll spend like 2 hours, 3 hours, and be sidetracked from their main goals because they didn't just check the system at the start of the month or the start of the week, right? So your goals should only be to generate more clients, make them last longer, and de-risking the business, right? And at this case, a lot of people get sidetracked of little admin stuff because they don't do this or they don't check at the start of the week before opening up the business and making sure it's ready for servicing or XYZ, right? And as a result, this will help you focus on the highest leverage activities during the week, right? So if you do this on a Sunday or on a Monday, that means the rest of the week you're focused on booking meetings, making more money, content and stuff like that. Okay, so I implore you, create a SOP or like a checklist of your systems, what systems you run in your business, right? And from there, what you want to do is every Monday, Sunday, is just make sure, ask yourself, are these systems running? Are they up to scratch? And that should be enough for you to get started with the week, right? And then the next thing is doing weekly level 10 meetings. Now, we got this from the book Traction. So if you haven't heard Traction, it's basically like it goes over this book. It's called the EOS system. I just like to call it level 10. And this is where you have an executive meeting, but if it's yourself, you just do it yourself. There's been plenty of times I've done it with myself or my business partner, and we used to do it every time on a Saturday. Now, what you're going to go over this meeting, it starts for the business. So you're going to look at how many leads you got, how many outreaches you done, how many sales you got, how many people showed up, etc. Then you're going to review your business goals. So how far are you away from hitting that 50K a month, 100K a month, $1 million a month? And also you're going to be talking about any employee and staff headlines. So did someone quit? Was someone unhappy with the service? If so, why? And then you're going to be reviewing projects. So things that you got in the pipeline, new systems that you're building out. And once you have all of that on the table, you're going to be identifying the biggest bottleneck and the constraints of your business. And then you're going to use this IDS framework to solve it. So the first one is identify the problem. So really get clear on what's the problem. So for example, if it's, let's say, we don't got enough leads, then it's like, okay, what's the problem? Was the ad campaign going out, or the outreach campaign going out? Did we get was there any deliverability problems? How many replies did we get? How many positive replies did we get? Where could that usually be? And then you're gonna go and actually identify root causes and put them in order of probability. So it could be that deliverability has the highest probability, and also campaigns running out, so there's nothing to do with like instantly or stuff like that. And then from there, you're going to pinpoint the highest probability. Let's say in this case, deliverability, and then you're going to solve the problem. So buy more emails, put the email, lower the volume, increase the warm up, right? Things like that, so you can actually solve the problem. And I do this every Saturday morning, and it's just been a habit that's helped me get to 50K per month because I know the goals, and it allows me to think of my business more laid back and more subjectively, and more via data, rather than just being in the day-to-day emotions of the business, right? Because I know I don't really make any big decisions until after I've done the level 10 meetings, and that just keeps me like focused on like what we need to do, right? And I'm using this right now to scale Agency Advancer, the company I run now, and it made me like, and it's making me step out of the day today. So I'm not involved in setting at the moment, and it's saved me a lot of time. Okay, and it's only helped me become a better CEO in general, because now I'm making data-driven decisions. I'm identifying bottlenecks, and that's stopping the business from growing, right? So I'm growing at a much faster rate just by implementing the weekly level 10s. Okay. Then is running one weekly test. Now, I've got this more from Alex Emozi. I used to test every single day. And I watched one of Alex Emozi's videos, and he was just say, just do one big test and just batch it. And I was like, okay, well, why don't I just do that? Because at the end of the day, you need to give like test time for them to run. And it allows me to focus on other areas of the business while the marketing and stuff is still growing. Because I honestly think after a split test, I've learned something. I've learned what to do. I've learned what not to do. Okay. So it's always a win testing, because then I know what not to do. So then what I do is every single week, I do one weekly test. So if it's with the setters, I'm going to say, hey, let's test this type of text message. Okay. If it's with the emails, I'm going to say, hey, let's test this type of script, this type of offer, this type of strategy. But only limit myself to one. This way I can prioritize which one is the best one. And you want to do this once per week. I usually do mine on a Monday, and it's going to be offer, messaging, targeting accounts. So 1 week, I'll just say, hey, let's just buy fresh Gmail accounts, and let's just see how it goes. I'm never going to test anything. I just want to test how these fresh Gmail accounts are to the market. Are they landing in inbox? Are they trusted by the provider, etc.? Okay. Now, if is the system, and then this is if the system's working, I just ask myself, why can't we scale it to 10x? So sometimes, if it's really working, nothing's wrong with it, then I'll just say, hey, instead of me testing, let me just double the accounts that I have now, and then I'll just carry on. Okay. And I use this I use that kind of question, asking myself, why can we not 10x this, to find the current bottleneck? So let's say now we are at a point now in the company, thankfully, that we have a lot of bookings, right? We're getting like 10 bookings a day, 15 bookings a day sometimes. And the bottleneck really isn't bookings. And now it's just making sure we can facilitate all the bookings we're getting. So then at that point, it doesn't really make sense for me yeah, I can run one test a week, but it's not really going to scale my business. It may improve it by 10, 20%, but it's not going to have the most exponential growth in the business. Okay. Getting more spaces for calls is going to have a better chance of doing that. Right. And this helped me to stay up to date with the marketing trends, because guys, marketing, I'm seeing it change every 3 to 6 months. There's always something new. AI is always something. There's always another company testing out new automations. Some of them are good. Some of them are dog shit. You're gonna have to try some or not try some, right? And with that, I know that 95% of my tests are gonna fail, and the 5% that win big. So I remember when I tested a script, and one of them was long, and it was working for a certain amount of period. We booked so many meetings, 100, 200, 300, 400 meters just from a long script. And then I changed the script because it stopped working after 3 to 6 months, as majority of my scripts do, and which is fine. And then once I went from long, I just like, hey, let's do a short and see how that works. And now I have a shorter script that's ripping it. So It's part of the game. That's why you always want to be testing weekly to make sure that you're always above the curve. People that don't do this end up being, as I said, wiped out automatically by the market, because there's a thing called entropy at the end of the day, right? If you create something, it's always going to die, right? So the same thing with marketing. If it works now, like from the day it works, is the day that's gonna is the first day of death, if that makes sense, right? Because the first day that's been alive, but it's the same day the first day is going to die, because everything that we're doing right now, it's dying, it's decaying. So that's why you always want to test, because you're trying to fight that death, that decaying element of marketing. So that's one thing that we do every single week. And the day that you stop testing is the day that you stop growing. That's with everything: marketing, product, life, relationships, everything like that. Okay. Then self end of day report. So every day I fill out a report to myself to basically keep me on track on what's on keeping the main thing, right? And to make sure I'm always focusing on things that move the business forward. So how many sales calls did we book today? How many sales calls showed up? How many clients closed? How many, was there any issues? What's the plan of action against these issues, right? So for example, remember one time that we had so many sellers on LinkedIn and sales now, we couldn't get it from our provider. And all my days, it was like Bangladesh was having some riot or something, and majority of our providers are from Bangladesh. So we couldn't get it. And that whole day, I literally had to call up so many people in Asia to make sure we had it. And we had sales now for the whole team. And the next day we fixed it, and then doubled. We just went back to our normal booking, 10, 15 per day. Okay. So this is one thing that could happen, but at least allows me to stay focused on what's the main thing of the business right now. Right. Because if you're not focusing on sales calls, or sales calls showed, or clients closed, like, what are you doing? Right? Yes, you're servicing your clients, etc., which is good, but you really want to get new info of clients to make sure you're always growing the business, unless delivery is the main thing stopping you. Okay, so if delivery is mainly a bottleneck that you can already handle so many clients, then you have to make sure you have the hiring, make sure you have the system set up that you can actually handle more workload. Okay, then at the end of the week, I'll review, and it gives me an accurate presentation, that's the word, of what is going on in the business, and allows me to spot trends. So if I feel like, I say like how I feel in this thing sometimes. I say, hey, I'm feeling really tired, and I feel like nothing's coming out right, etc. Then I know, hey, like this weekend, just take it easy, nothing too deep. But then let's say on Wednesday, I'm feeling like crazy. I'm like, hey, let's just keep the momentum. Let's write it out, because the momentum may last 2 weeks, may last 1.5 weeks, but really let's write out. Because I think there was a time last month where, in terms of building the product, I just spent every single day for like 15 days just building the product. And after the 15 days, I was like, bro, I don't even want to see a screen anymore. Okay. So another thing doing this, it just holds self accountability when it comes to the self end of day reports, because at the end of the day, you have to be accountable for the actions of the business. I jump on a lot of calls, and people don't really like accountability, and they try to like offload their marketing to agencies, right? But if you're a marketing agency and you don't even have to market yourself, then it says a lot in terms of your ability to market others. Okay. And so you really want to be careful, avoiding the pain, and actually like take responsibility of growing the agency. And this is a nice way to do it. And then the last thing is asking who, not how. Now, every week when I plan, I always ask myself, who can help me achieve this, the goal faster. For example, when it came to closing, right, I wanted to get my close rate up. Instead of me just going and searching online, yes, there's so many free people doing it, called Gordon, all that stuff. I went to a sales coach, someone that I knew, someone that has been in the same industry, sold similar products that I'm selling right now. And I just asked him for advice. He came on calls, helped me out, stuff like that. And my close rate doubled in the span of 35 to 40 days. And that's because I went to the right who. I could have spent 3-4 months trying to figure out myself, but he would have saved me all that time just like answering the question, just telling me things that I had to do differently. And that's the same thing that a lot of people do, because at the end of the day, we're both, you're going to spend money or time fixing the problem anyways. It's just which one do you want to spend more of. And with me, I'd rather go to people who already have the knowledge and learn from their mistake, so I know what not to do, and actually go to my goal faster. So that was one thing that kind of accelerated my growth, knowing that skill, and actually get into that sellability, the skills of sales faster, and grow my business. Another thing, what actually they do is actually they increase the standards of what's achievable, right? They give you better directions. You get more ideas. They reset your expectation. Because let's say you think that it takes 2 or 3 calls to close this guy, but then you speak to someone and they do it on the one call. Then like, hey, my vision on reality is completely wrong. So let me fix my belief and let me believe something else. Because one thing is, one of our mottos in my company is always being open. And with me, when I look at another person or I ask another person for advice, it always strikes me how they think differently about the situation, and because of that, that's why they're getting better results. Because the people, it's not really like the person, is the way they think about it, and sometimes it allows me to kind of shift my thinking and get better results because of that. Right now, I'm always looking for people to help me out on achieving my goals, and I always leverage their hard work. Right? Do not be one of them people that want to like keep things to yourself. Things that like XYZ, I can build Rome by myself, because no empire, no big thing was built alone. Like Sam Ovens, he's building a school right now. He has one of the top developers in his company, and he's helping him build out school. And he's also with Alex Hormozi. He's also with Andrew Kirby. And that synergy is why school is such a big platform, right? Sam Ovens knew that he couldn't build it by himself. That's why he had to team up with different people. And that's the same thing for you. So now, and the thing is, you're going to ask yourself, like, does it make more sense trying to figure out on your own, or does it make more sense going to someone who already knows it, gets their knowledge, and then you apply it, right? Because if someone teaches you how to do maths, or you try learning from your books, there's a different way of doing it, right? And you get to learning maths a lot quicker. That's why a lot of people have teachers, and it kind of shortcuts the amount of time required to learn the skill, because essentially business is just getting the skills, okay? And this is one of the biggest hacks to save time and get ahead, right? One of the biggest hacks. And that's why you see a lot of people that may be younger than you, but they're making more money, because they actually know better people than you, right? They're following a better system than you. They have a better business model than you. And it's like, how do they know all this stuff? Well, like, you're not born with knowledge. You have to go and acquire knowledge. So this is one of the things I'm strongly advising, especially if you're stuck, especially if nothing's going right with you. Find the person that's already doing it, that already has appointments, that already knows how to close, that already knows how to build a business, and just learn from them. Okay? And all in all, these habits have helped me stay aligned with the business, make sure I'm always following through with what is required, not what I want, what is required for the business to grow. Okay? And it's not a typical 5 a.m., go for a run and these type of habits, but it helped me make more money. And yes, sometimes I didn't want to do these habits. Sometimes I didn't want to do the day report. Sometimes I didn't want to ask people and humble myself, right? Sometimes I didn't want to run tests. But at the end of the day, it's, you get what you want by enduring hard times, right? And if everyone if everyone had what you want, then you wouldn't really want it. Do you know what I mean? Like, everyone is fat. Do you want to be fat? No. But does everyone have a six pack? No. Do you want to have a six pack? Yes. See? So that's the main thing. Like, if you want to get what people essentially don't have, you have to do what people don't want to do. And that's where the growth comes. So now these are the 5 habits that help me make $50,000 in just 90 days. Now, if you need help scaling your own agency and actually learning from other people's experience rather than yours, then there's a link in the bio for us to have a chat. If not, just keep enjoying these videos, keep giving me some love, like, subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.